that you have in the West, the same blindness to the decline of the American empire. They cannot face it. And it's not so unusual. When empires decline, the people caught up in the decline have to go through quite a struggle and period to get beyond denying it, to get to the point of saying, yeah, it is happening. Now, what do we do about it? How do we manage it? And of course, the risk, I'm not shying away from it. The risk is there that when you have Russia, China with nuclear weapons, and the United States with nuclear weapons, that these people will destroy the whole world rather than work out their differences. That's, what's in the mind of, I would argue, 9/10 of the people of Ukraine. Why is this happening to us, they ask. Why isn't Zelenskyy and his people on the one hand, and Putin and his people on the other, or the United States and whoever the key players here are, why aren't they sitting down? As we all know, they eventually will. Why don't they save a lot of destruction, save a lot of lives, save a lot of horrible suffering? Do it now. Don't wait. And the same in Gaza or in the West Bank or in Lebanon now. It's just an enormous part of my family of origin was French and German. An enormous part of them were killed in World War II. I know because my grandmother told me 8 million stories, and my mother and father told me 8 million stories, and I was the child who watched their facial expressions, their tears. I know what war means. My fellow Americans don't, except those that have been in the military. They know. And in case you don't know, let me assure my audience, we have an amazing problem of the mental health and suicides of our soldiers. They are traumatized by what we put them through. And I'm not speaking of what happens to the people in the countries where we send these to. That's a whole nother horror. But to undertake a war means, in my mind, that you have no idea what you are doing. And since I know that the World Wars I and II were largely fought in Russia, that the major deaths were Russian, I kind of know they know what the risk of war means. But they're playing with Americans who don't. And that's part of what's going on here too, which of course the American media cannot explore because it might end up making Americans culpable. So we don't hear that. But everybody should understand, because you don't hear it doesn't mean it isn't there.
Yeah. Richard, just to wrap up this session, in your opinion, with what's going on, yet you've mentioned what's going on in Ukraine, do you see the policymakers in the United States capable of learning of what has been going on in Ukraine or even in the Middle East to not go and have the same kind of conditions with China?
No, I have no confidence that they have that ability, or I see no tendency among them to go in that direction. Here's the irony of where people like me are. I cannot help noticing that the American Pentagon, the military center of American strategic thinking, is constantly telling this government that it cannot go to war with Russia, that this is a impossible course of action. So then the problem then becomes that you have political authorities And this has happened before. It's not the first time. Not the first time in the United States and not the first time globally. The political authorities want to go to war, but their own military tells them, we're not ready, we're not prepared, we're not sure what the outcome will be. If we fight a nuclear war, we risk everything. If we fight a non-nuclear war, we may well be defeated. Therefore, we're not ready. Maybe we can get ready, if even that makes sense, but we're not. And so they're held back, not by a popular uprising, because Americans don't know